Good evening and welcome to CYC News for the 4th of March 2018 and the 25th of Amshir, 1734 AM. I'm Justina Twadros, and in today's headlines, North Korea sending chemical weapons supplies to Syria, Christian leaders shut Jerusalem's Church of Holy Sepulchre in dispute, Ghouta residents now face being burnt out of their homes, another cyclone heading for Northeast U.S. Putin claims new missile can pierce U.S. defendants, Dermatologist tips for people with psoriasis, Russia's Olympic membership is fully reinstated after doping saga. But first to Syria, where according to a United Nations report, North Korea has been sending supplies that could be used to produce chemical weapons. Speaking on condition of anonymity and citing the report of UN Security Council diplomat said North Korea had sent acid-resistant tiles, valves and thermometers to Syria. The report also claims North Korean missile experts visited Syria in 2016 and 2017 after the chemical weapons supplies had been sent to Middle East state. During one of the trips, the technicians stayed at Syrian military facilities. A UN member state reported to the panel of experts who authored the report that scientists from North Korea may still be operating in Basra, Adra and Hama. The details come just days after the Syrian regime was accused of carrying out a chlorine gas attack on eastern Ghouta, suburb in the Syrian capital Damascus. To Jerusalem now, where the doors of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre were closed last Sunday. Church leaders, in the rare showing of outrage and unity, closed the holy site until their demands were met. In front of the church doors and flanked by leaders of Jerusalem's Catholic and Armenian Orthodox, Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem, Theophilus III, spoke to journalists. He said, "This reminds us all of the laws of a similar nature, which were enacted against the Jews during dark periods in Europe. This systemic and unprecedented attack against Christians in the Holy Land severely violates the most basic sovereign rights. The systemic campaign of abuse against churches and Christians reaches now its peak as a discriminatory and racist bill that targets solely the priorities of the Christian communities in the Holy Land is being promoted." The church reopened on Wednesday. Beleaguered civilians in Syria's rebel-held eastern Ghouta say they were being attacked by a new kind of rocket that spreads potentially deadly fires, as human rights groups condemned international inaction over the crisis. The Syrian American Medical Society said 100 of the rockets have rained down in recent days, and that civil defense forces were struggling to put out the fires they caused. Close to 400,000 people are living in deteriorating conditions in the Damascus suburb, which has been pounded with shells, mortars and bombs by Russian-backed Syrian regime forces for a fortnight. Dr. Fayez Orabi, head of Eastern Ghouta Health Department, said more than 400 civilians, including women, children and the elderly, have been killed. More than 2,000 others are injured, a quarter of them severely. He said it's difficult to have a precise count because of the internet and communications are weak and the shelling and bombings are 24 hours. The UN Security Council failed to vote through the draft resolution on February the 22nd, which called for a 30-day halt in the fighting to allow for critical aid deliveries and medical evacuations. The United States accused Russia of blocking the measure. According to Russia's state-run RT outlet, the country's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov said they were ready to vote for a ceasefire resolution, but that the United States and its allies won't provide guarantees that militants in Syria will observe it. To the United States now, where the state New England is gearing up for its most significant storm since early January's bomb cyclone. Heavy rain, roaring winds and excessive coastal flooding is expected over the weekend from the mid-Atlantic to the New England. This nor'easter, like the one in January, could reach bombogenesis or become a bomb cyclone by dropping at least 24 millibars of atmospheric pressure in 24 hours. Even if this storm doesn't bomb out, the coastal low will pack an incredible punch, with places from eastern eastern Long Island in New York to Boston, likely to get hit the hardest. With the moon full, the tide is now at its highest point of the month. On top of that, the storm's surge could drive 2 to 3 feet of water into coastal neighborhoods. Along the shore, wave heights will be 4 to 8 feet, breaking along the shoreline and exacerbating floods. Because this system will be a slow mover, its wind, rain, and flood impacts could be felt for days. To Russia now, and the country's President Vladimir Putin boasted on Thursday of new weaponry he claims will render NATO defenses completely useless, delivering a warning to the world about Russia's resurgent military might. In an annual address to the Russian parliament, the Kremlin leader said Russia had developed a new nuclear-capable cruise missile with unlimited range, which is capable of eluding air defense systems. He also said Russia had developed an invincible missile that can deliver a warhead at hypersonic speed. Putin is running for a re-election in mid-March on a platform that emphasizes his strength as a leader. And Thursday's speech was an occasion for the Russian president to showcase his country's stride in military technology. He said Russia still has the greatest nuclear potential in the world, but nobody listened to us. Listen now. Putin showed a video of the low-flying cruise missile capable of stealthy operations before he explained how a new military-developed weapon will fly like a meteorite at several times the speed of sound. He said since the range is unlimited, it can maneuver as much as necessary. It will be particularly invulnerable. He said the speed will be hypersonic. To health news now, psoriasis is a disorder of the icing on the cake. The top layer of the skin, referred to as the epidermis, with psoriasis, there's a problem in the immune system that causes skin cells to replicate too fast. The body becomes a skin-producing machine and can't get rid of the new skin cells quickly enough. The result of these changes is the developmental of red, raised, scaly patches called plaques. Psoriasis can be a very difficult condition to cope with and manage, and although there is currently no cure, tremendous strides have been made in understanding why psoriasis occurs. This had led to the development of some new drugs which can manage and improve the appearance of the skin. Here are some important tips for psoriasis patients to consider as they move forward with the treatment plan. Psoriasis patients should first seek out the care of a board-certified dermatologist. A general practitioner might be able to address mild cases, but a dermatologist has the skills and training patients should be looking for. Staying with a treatment plan is also important with managing psoriasis if patients use medications as directed. Keep follow-up appointments and maintain an open line of communication with a dermatologist. They are more likely to have success with their treatment. Be open to new treatment options. There are many new therapists out there, so if one treatment isn't working out, there are plenty of others. For milder cases, medications applied directly to the skin can usually work, but in more severe cases, a new class of drugs called biologics offers greater results. Biologics target psoriasis by influencing the immune system, and for many patients, they've made a huge difference. And in sport, officially ostracized from the recent Winter Games over a long-running doping saga, Russia has now been welcomed back into the Olympic family. The country was banned from Pyeongchang 2018 following state-sponsored doping, leading up to and including the Sochi 2014 Winter Olympics. 2 Russian athletes also failed drug tests during the Games last month, but that hasn't prevented Russia being reinstated. The International Olympic Committee announced on the day of the Winter Games closing ceremony that as long as no additional anti-doping rule violations by members of the delegation were uncovered, the suspension would be lifted. And so it has proven after the doping-free sport unit confirmed all remaining test results from Russia athletes had come back negative. A statement from the IOC read the final notification of all remaining test results from the Olympic athlete from Russia delegation has been received from the DFSU. The IOC can confirm that all the remaining results are negative. Therefore, as stated in the Executive Board decision of 25th of February, the suspension of the Russian Olympic Committee is automatically lifted with immediate effect. And that's all for CYC News. A reminder that you can watch the news bulletin again throughout the week on YouTube. I'm Yasina Tawadros from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Have a good night.